Welcome back, everybody. My name's APrater54, aka Adam, coach of the Mackenzie Park Slowpokes, and today we start a new adventure with the INT Season 2 Draft Analysis. I was invited to this league by Kahuuutz and JV, as well as other fellow content creators, so I'm ecstatic to be here. So, without further ado, let's jump into it. Round 1. I was a 5th pick overall, dead in the middle. I called the draft order the same day he was going to do it, and utterly shocked the commissioner, who was Kahuuutz, and ended up 5th, where I said I was going to be. Dead middle. We have a budget of 120 for 9 to 11 mons. And round 1, I decide to get the big, the bad, and the terrifying Celesteela. This mon has incredible versatility for its typing, incredible bulk, can be physical or special, access to autotomize to make itself faster, access to steel roller to shatter terrain. This thing actually has access to iron defense as well, so it can double dance and set up with a weakness policy behind screens. It can use itself to slowly break a team with Leech Seed Protect. And Beast Boost is just phenomenal to have. It does my highest stat every time I kill something. So if this thing gets rolling, it's going to be fun. So this was 18 points of my budget. Well worth it. For everything that it does. And just for all the things that it walls, it's well worth it. Pick number 2. This is where I actually surprised a few people. For 16 points, I got Necrozma with Prism Armor. This is a Psychic type. Prism Armor, you take a core, I believe it's either 33%, 33% less damage from super effective moves, allowing this thing to set up. This gets access to Stealth Rocks, gets access to Moonlight, to heal itself. This gets access to Store Power, Automize, Dragon Dance, can be physical or special. Gets a lot of coverage like Heat Wave, Solar Beam, Power Gem, Super Power. Actually, no, it gets Brick Break. So yeah, this thing can hit pretty hard. It is very, very bulky. So this thing on its own, if it's able to get going, it's really hard to deal with. This gets access to screens, iron defense, calm mind. Basically, it sets up a lot. Celesteela blocks the ghost type moves and the dark type moves that would hit Necrozma pretty hard, as well as the bug. And then Necrozma somewhat, well, it's bulky enough to take the fire and electric moves that Celesteela doesn't want to take. So these two work very well together, and I look forward to using them. I have this pairing in another league as well, and it's absolutely nuts what this team can do. And for my next pick, I wanted to do a mon that I've been trying to do for a while that my wife tends to snipe from me. For 14 points, I took Lycanroc Dusk. Tough Claws is a built-in life orb. This thing also gets access to rocks, has Stone Edge, Drill Run, Play Rough, Sucker Punch, a Cell Rock, gets access to Iron Head, Fire Fang, Thunder Fang, be able to hit water types. It's got a lot of special coverage, but its special attack is not high enough to use it. This is a little frail and it's fast, but it pairs well with Celesteela because Celesteela takes neutral from the fighting that hits this. It gets a ground immunity if I switch into Celesteela, which protects this. Fighting types trying to hit this get blocked by Necrozma. Bug types trying to hit Necrozma get blocked by Lycanroc. So all in all, they work pretty well together. This thing is a good sweeper late game, especially if everything's chipped down. You just choice band a Cell Rock because it's so fast. It just one-shots a lot of things. But yeah, for its typing just being pure rock, the speed and the attack that it has, this thing was well worth it. And I absolutely love this mon, and I've been dying to use it. But without further ado, so we're at that point around in the draft where everybody starts looking at water types. Well, JV picks before me, and he messes up. I was also looking at the same mon. I waited a little bit to see if, hey, maybe we can swap it. Let him have his pick. But no, they said let's just move on. He picked Starmie. Over Rotom Wash that was literally diagonal with it because he couldn't see it on his phone. So I got a steal. This is electric water. Really only weak to ground if it gets grounded by gravity or hit by Mold Breaker. It's weak to literally just grass after that. This walls the water and electric moves that try and go into into Celesteela and Lycanroc. Just sponges. This gets access to Will-O-Wisp, Pain Split, Defog, Toxic, Thunderbolt, Hex, Shadow Ball, quite a few offensive moves. This gets access to Trick, so one of the weeks I can just trick an item onto somebody to switch in, or just force a Scarf onto a setup mon and just be annoying, and then Volt Switch out because they can't really damage me. So this can status cripple teams, which is really good. And I look forward to finally being able to use this. I've used Heat, I've used Mow, and I believe I've used Base Rotom, but I've never been able to draft Wash. And I've been in about 27 drafts now, and I always get sniped with this thing. So I'm actually excited to use this. It's actually pretty fast, very bulky, and it's just going to be a lot of fun with its typing. And then everybody just, during the live draft, just made fun of JV for a little bit, even post-draft, for not seeing this on his Android phone. But the pick I'm most excited about is the glue that puts this all together and makes this beefy is my 5th overall pick of the draft. Uh, Rotom was 14. And then for 13 points, I got a Alolan Ninetales. The fastest hail setter in the game, gets access to Hypnosis. Uh, Aura Veil, which is really, really good. Especially for my team. It's fat, but it gets fatter. This gets access to Ice Shard as priority, access to Freeze Dry, Moonblast, Hex. For some reason, it gets access to Aqua Tail, but I'll never be running a physical Alolan Ninetales. Gets Calm Mind, Sub, Nasty Plot. This thing can actually set up on its own if the matchup is favorable. The only downside is it's times 4 weak to Steel. It's weak to Rock, it's neutral to Fighting, it still takes a lot, and it's weak to Fire. Well, of all those things that were just listed, Rotom Wash walls that, which is amazing. So basically, set up Aura Veil, pivot into one of my offensive threats or one of my defensive threats to regain momentum. It's actually really, really good. Originally, I just wanted this by itself, just for the Aura Veil. And now, I finally, after my second draft ever, have finally gotten to the Mon I've been trying to draft again for a while. For 12 points and my 6th overall pick, the goodest doggo, the Eater of Fire, and spreads terror with Intimidate, Arcanine. I love this Mon. I love that it gets Teleport. I love that it can be physical or special. I love that it gets Will-O-Wisp. Morning Sun to heal itself. Can be a breaker with status. Access to Bulldoze. Dragon Pulse. Wild Charge for water types. Gets access to extreme speed to start picking off things. Gets Flare Blitz. Flash Fire boosted banded Flare Blitz is a 2-hit KO on a Mon like Gastrodon, which is insane. And that's a water ground type. This thing can put out a lot of damage. It even gets access to Solar Beam, which is pretty cool. Especially if I need to catch a water ground type or just pure water type, and I don't want to run Wild Charge. I can be special that week and run Power Herb, which is absolutely amazing. This Mon puts in a lot of work. I've had a lot of success with it, and I just love it as a shiny. This is probably my first Mon in Gen 8 I actually shiny hunted for, and it took me 1,856 eggs to get one shiny Growlithe in 1 week. But boy, was it worth it. For my next pick, for 12 points, also another Mon that I've used once before, and I fell in love with. And I love its typing, but I don't like its weakness. I picked 12-point Zarude. The downside to this Mon is I wish with a passion it got knockoff. But it still hits very hard with Power Whip, with U-Turn, Rock Slide for flying types, Close Combat for steel types, Power Whip for the water types. Gets access to Acrobatics, which is double power if I lose my item. Gets access to bulk up. The mon just does a lot. And its ability allows it to not be status if it's in sun. Which I don't know when I'll ever set up sun. But that's kind of cool. It also has jungle healing, which is a full heal for itself as far as status. And it does a quarter of its HP, which is nice. So if I get burned on this thing, I can just heal it off, which is amazing. This mon gets... I'm not sure if it gets Leech Seed. I don't really want to look it up, but if it got Leech Seed, this thing would be amazing. But for its typing, to be able to sponge ground type moves, to be able to sponge ghost type, normal type moves, steel type moves, water type moves, and even with the Assault Vest, this thing chunks Moonblasts, and it can actually kill back fairies. If they're already weakened, to Power Whip just drops them, which is insane for a dark type. I look forward to using this thing again. Whether it be Scarf or Banded, this thing hits like a truck. But yeah, that's our round 7 pick. Our round 8. We had 2 minutes to draft. I got flustered and distracted, and I just wanted something for a filler. So I got a Selgor. Originally I wanted to keep this for the spikes, the final gambit, the T-spikes, the knockoff, the U-turn, encore, yawn, everything else it does. It's just super frail. So I kept it for now. Thought about it for a few hours, and this mana, unfortunately, will probably be traded away in Grace. And it ended up being traded. But yeah, it would have been nice to have, but I was already way too weak to fire that I couldn't keep this. So, on to my next pick. For my 9th pick, because I wanted a Defogger and I needed a fighting type, and I just picked Surfette because it was just there. But I do love that this thing gets First Impression, and that it gets Knockoff, Close Combat, Final Gambit, Leaf Blade, Grassy Glide for the terrain matchups. It's a really good mon. It's really bulky. I just wish it was faster. And because I had 1 point left, and I was like, I need at least something to go off of, I drafted Cutie Fly for potentially having webs and another Defogger. Well, Cutie Fly, I'm sorry, but you don't last long. I'll go into Grace now. We were allowed 24 hours with unlimited trades. And I dropped a Selgor for Flygon to have a ground immunity, a fire resist, a rock resist, a neutral to grass, but the only thing I'm trading for is a ×4 weakness to ice, which Arcanine, Lycanroc, Rotom Wash, Celesteela, and Arctozolt resists. I dropped Surfette for Arctozolt just so I can abuse the hail. I love this mon. It can be physical or special. There is a Meteor Beam set paired with Bolt Beak, freeze dry, and surf or hydro pump. It's pretty good that way, or you can just be physical with icicle spear, sub, icicle crash, bolt beak on its own, stopping tantrum, and I believe it gets. No, I don't think it gets stone edge, but it's a really, really good mon. And I picked up throw because it's very bulky. It has the potential to still be guts and assault vest on the weeks that I have to deal with my opponent using T-spikes to make it offensive and bulky. It's 150 in both defenses. It's low, but it also gets a move in Storm Throw that always crits. It gets Circle Throw to bounce my opponent with its negative priority. It gets Rest, Sleep Talk. It gets Earthquake, I believe Zen Headbutt, Physical Covered Scoop Galore to pair with its Guts. And then it also gets Mold Breaker, which overrides Levitate. So this can be Mold Breaker whenever I face an opposing Rotom. And just try and kill it with Earthquake, which is actually pretty cool. And Cutie Fly for Trubbish gave me Spikes and T-Spikes. It's basically Garbodor, but baby, and a little bit more bulkier because the Eviolite still gets the same things that Garbodor does. And if played right, it can still be very, very annoying for my opponent, especially with access to Toxic. It also gets access to Pain Split, so I just sit there and get the health back. Little Trubbish, aka Shawnee, if you watch Kenny Dub's videos, Shawnee's one of the guests that's on there that loves this thing. So, I'm just gonna name it that. Well, to wrap things up, this is what the final team ended up being. This is my INT Season 2 final roster, consisting of Celesteela, Necrozma, Lycanroc Dusk, Rotom Wash, Alolan Ninetales, Arcanine, Zarude, Flygon, Arctozolt, Throw, and Trubbish. I look forward to battling everybody in the league, and I will also be putting their links to their channel in the description so people can see the other draft analysis as they go live. This will be going up Wednesday, and then every upload after this will be the battles. So stay tuned 2 Wednesdays from now for week 1. I play Helios, coast to the San Jose Sharpedos, and that looks like a fun matchup. Well, to everybody that sat through this, like and subscribe if you haven't. And look forward to all the content of the season. And good luck to everybody else playing. You guys have a good night. Peace.